All right. Looks like we are live, but just double check. Double checking. We're checking. We're checking. Yep, we are live. Welcome everybody to the first episode in. Can you believe this, Zachary Taylor? It's been a year since we done the IMSA podcast. That's insane.
Definitely, it is been a long time since we did one of these.
Yep, it's been actually a while since we did one in general, but hey, we're doing this in my room, so that's good. But welcome everybody to the first episode of the IMSA podcast. It has been a long time since we done one. Let me first off by apologizing for not having this show done last year. Excuse me, there. I didn't mean to have a little belch there, but besides the point, crap has been getting in the way, and of course, with me having used to a new job like Cheddar Scratch Kitchen, that's been, I'm trying to get back into the motivation of doing these shows. But hey, I'm looking forward to this great show. And Mr. Zachary Taylor, speaking of which, is joining me here for the IMSA podcast. Taylor, that was your cue, you dirt.
Wait a minute. Stupid Discord.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when we ask Taylor to say something and Discord decided to end up having something that has nothing to do with what I'm about to say, which I'm not going to say it. Warning, viewer discretion is advised. Do not be warned. You have been warned. If there's anything that may be offensive, you have been warned.
And Discord decided to glitch right now when I was trying to say something.
Okay, try it again.
But what I was trying to say after you introduced it, I was doing yay! And then Discord decided to be drunk.
Actually, Discord tried to smack you. That's what happened when they said no cheering, Taylor. That's Discord for you folks. But anyway, Zachary Taylor and I are happy to welcome you to the International Motorsports Association's podcast. As this, by the way, this copyrighted broadcast is presented by the authority of the International Motorsports Podcast for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, rebroadcast, or retransmission without the express written consent of the International Motorsports Association and the Pacific Coast Sports Racing Association is prohibited. Just to get that advertisement out of the way. So, Taylor, we've had 2 weeks of racing for the IMSA deal, which we haven't seen these drivers since late September, October. Let's go over the results by first off recapping we're going to start off with the IMSA VP Racing Sports Car Challenge, which has the LMP3 cars in the field. So yeah, they had 2 races this during the Roar before the 24. So. Let me tell you who won both races, and we'll get your thoughts on this. So, Stephen Akarhani swept the weekend. He won race 1 and race 2. Alex Kirby finished second in race 1. Cody Ware third. I will ask Zachary Taylor's opinion about Cody Ware in just a minute. Fourth was Marco Kaki. Fifth was Bryant Deems. 6, Mirko Scholitz, Lance Wisely 7th, George Saclo 8th, Scott Lockey came home in 9th, and Miguel Villagomez completed the field. Stephen Akanani won race 2 rather. Marco Kaki got 2nd. 3rd was Miguel Villagomez. 4th was Brian Thames. 5th was Mirko Scholitz. Lance Wisely 6th, George Salako 7th, Cody Ware finished in 8th, 9th, Scott Lockey, and completing the field was Alex Kirby. So, Zachary Taylor, let's start off with Cody Ware. This was his first race since his suspension, which we will talk more about that on the Triple P segment of the show, which will be next week. Cody Ware got a podium. He was supposed to have finished in the top, I think it was like second or third, but he got a 5-second time penalty or 10-second time penalty for a collision. Your thoughts on how Cody Ware did in his first 2 races back since his indefinite suspension from the Cup Series?
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely it's been a long time since Cody Ware's been behind the wheel of a race car, and due to what you were just referring to there, and I mean, if it wasn't for that penalty and stuff that he got, he actually would have had a really good finish. I mean, Cody Ware did a pretty good job, despite the fact that he's not been behind the wheel of the race car for a while. And definitely, he definitely is going to have to readjust to being back behind the wheel of a race car in general. But I mean, Cody did a pretty good job, it looked like, behind the wheel of that IMSA car.
Well, and the other thing is, he's never run a prototype type IMSA car before. So I think, we didn't know what to expect, but even though he got a podium, which is his first career podium, I'm thinking he's probably going to be full-time in the IMSA what is it called again? The IMSA the IMSA VP Racing Sports Car Championship. I think he's going full-time. Let me double check. Excuse me. And I think he is full-time. He's running the Legger GSP 320 car is what prototype he's running. And then we, of course, had the GSX class, which I will go over their results in a second. And I'll get Zachary Taylor's thoughts. If you have anything you want to say, Taylor, you can jump in at any point. So, yeah. Luca Mars won the GSX races at Daytona during the Roar before the 24. Second in race 1 was Greg Fagoe. Third was Mark Miller. Fourth, Michael Cooper. Fifth, Patrick Wilmot. Sixth, Eric Thompson. Jackson Lee, 7th. Eighth was Mark Brumman. Ninth was Sean Quinlan, which is a weird last name, but I'm not going to complain about that. And Michael Dayton completed your top 10. And then race 2, Michael Cooper finished second. Greg Liafugi got third, so he got a 2-3 from Daytona, so that's not too bad. Jesse Lazar got fourth. Fifth was Patrick Wilmot. Sixth, Jackson Lee. Eric Thompson, 7th. 8th, Scott Blind. 9th, Michael Dayton. And Brady Berman got the top 10. Frank Depew, Jonathan Woolridge, and Nathan Martin did not take the start in the GSX races at Daytona. So, yeah. And so, Taylor, your thoughts on the GSX races as well from Daytona?
Yeah, those were really interesting. Definitely a lot of interesting things happened in those races, and a lot of good racing happened too. And so, however, though, is that Jesse Lassard person, or whoever you mentioned, is that related to Raphael Lassard?
That is actually a good question. I'm actually going to look at that now that you brought that up. Jesse Lazar. Apparently, it's not taking me to Wiki as far as that's concerned, but I don't think. No, I think it's spelled differently. It's spelled like Lazare, so it's probably going to be a no.
Yeah, probably not, man.
But that's what happened to them. They'll be racing at St. Petersburg the same weekend for IndyCar, which we will have a discussion on that when we get to Triple P when we reach St. Petersburg. So let's talk about the races that took part over this weekend. Starting with let me pull up the MX5 Cup. Let me see. IMSA. Yeah, I'm going to pull up the IMSA MX5 Cup. They had their first two races at Daytona. The first one was an interesting race, I have to say. It went caution free. Race 2 was a different story. So Grant West never took the start, if you're asking. Nate Sirio had a mechanical problem. Noah Harmon finished the lap down, but Gresham Wagner ended up winning the race by, listen to this, 60 hundredths of a second. Can you believe that, Taylor? Yeah, and here's the thing. Top 11 was separated by a second. So you knew the drafting game was interesting because a couple of drivers were in trouble with race control because their rear bumpers, you know about the rear bumpers on the MX5 Cups, and you see me race it on, Forza, was it Forza Sport or something like that you've been seeing on or for all of you that have been watching my channel, Gran Turismo Sport, that is. You know how the MX5 Cups, when you draft, you got to make sure to not have their bumpers, and a couple of them got warnings for their little bumper hanging out, so. But anyway, Gresham Wagner won. Tyler Gonzalez got second. Jeremy Fletcher third. Aaron Giassani got fourth. ARCA driver Connor Zilich led the most laps, had to settle for fifth. Jarrett Thomas sixth. Weston Workman seventh. Salen Roland got eighth. He was one of the cars that also had bumper issues. Nathan Nicholson ninth. And Preston Pardis, a former SCCA national champion in Spec Miata, three-time champion, and a part-time driver in the Xfinity Series, came home in 10th. Your other notables, we have Cody Ware, finished 15th. Peter Atwater got 13th. Heather Hadley got 17th. And, the 95 needs to get mentioned because that was Lightning McQueen, because the paint scheme was sponsored by Rusty Kachow. And then, as I mentioned, Grant West never took the start. So, yeah. What's your thoughts on race 1, Taylor?
Yeah, definitely a lot of really close race in there, and with a bunch of people finishing like within a second or so of each other, that is not really something you see too much of in IMSA stuff, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. So race 2 was interesting, and this is why I say this. Taylor. If you thought we were going to get away with a caution-free race in race 2, you're kidding yourself. And here's why I say that. Let's see here. So you know how you come off of turn 4, as far when you're coming into the tribal, and we always talk about this on Triple P, which more we will discuss that when we get to Triple P coming up next week when we discuss the Daytona 500 and all the races for NASCAR. So you know how I talked about, Taylor, where you got to be careful with the bump drafting. Well, apparently, what happened was Preston Pardis in the 52, because there was 2 Rick Ware racing cars entered in this race. The 51 being Cody Ware, and the 52 driven by Preston Pardis. Can I just say this? I never would have thought Cody Ware and Preston Pardis would be teammates at RWR for a Mazda MX-5 Cup race. I'm being honest here.
Yeah.
So anyway, Pardis was in the draft. I don't know if he was trying to get a run on somebody, but looks like someone hooked him in the right rear. And like I said, with the way they're cutting to the fastest part of the circuit, because they just came out of the Le Mans chicane through NASCAR 3 and 4, and it doesn't take much for a misjudgment on the bump drafting, and Preston Partis tried to save it. Unfortunately, he hit the wall with the right rear, hit the safer barrier, that is, hit it in the right rear, swung out, and nowhere for Nathan Nicholson, who just went to the grass, tried to avoid it, couldn't, goes through the grass. And the big surprise, and you will agree with me, Taylor, is that how we got away with only a 2-car wreck when there could have been 15, 20 cars involved, that's pretty shocking if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely that is. And that was definitely very interesting to see only 2 cars get involved in that. And especially when you could have had a really big wreck there.
Mm-hmm. And that was, by the way, the only caution of the race, I should point out. So, unfortunately, and also I should mention, Grant West ended up withdrawing, which is a shame. Cody Ware had some mechanical problems before that, so that took him out. And then, as I said, the Preston Partis Nathan Nicholson incident happened, and that was a shame. Connor Zilic had a mechanical problem towards the end of the race, which was a shame because he ran pretty good. But here's where it gets very controversy ensues. So I talked about, the bump drafting and all that just a second ago before we talked about the incident.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that gave Tyler Gonzalez a 10-second time penalty, which was instant responsibility. So there you go. And then Heather Hadley got a 50-second time penalty for instant responsible. And this is what really ticked me off. The 39 of John Jodon caused not one but 2 incidents. He ended up hitting about, I think, 2 or 3 cars and ended up spinning one of the Miatas off the circuit. And then, if you thought he was done with carnage, he ends up wrecking the 24 machine, which offended Nathan Orman. That would be Aaron Jeansum, who got spun. That was and that was on the last lap. So he ended up finishing like 8th, only to get a stop and go. He ended up getting first a 50-second post-race drive-through for the instant responsible, and then a 10-second time penalty for instant responsible. So he got what I call a stop-and-go plus 60. Can you believe that?
That was definitely wild, that's for sure.
Yeah. But Nate Cicero ended up winning the MX5 Cup race from race number 2 for the weekend. So here's the top 10 results, and I'll probably want your thoughts on the incidents. Nate Cicero got the win. Jeremy Fletcher second. Salen Roland got third. Gresham Wagner fourth. Noah Harmon fifth. Alex Baccarora got sixth. Ethan Tyler seventh. Tyler Gonzalez, with his time penalty, dropped to ninth. But then with the time penalty the 39 got moved up to 8th. Nick Schaffner ends up 9th, and Parker DeLong will complete your top 10. Other notables, Jarrett Thomas got 14th, Cody Powell 16th, Sally Mott got 19th, Julian DaCosta, yes, not related to Antonio Felix DaCosta, got 22nd. And Cody Ware, Preston Partis at the back of the field. So that's a shame for the both of them, but hopefully they'll bounce back in the next race for the MX5 Cup, which their next race will be at Sebring. So, yeah. Let's see. Who is the points leader for that series now that we're mentioning? I wanted the points, you derping hyena. Yes, what part of I want the points standings do you not understand, you derping hyenas? But anyway, let's go to the pilot challenge race that also happened on Friday. Um, I have to say it was a very interesting race, if you ask me. Uh, it's, by the way, the 25th season for the pilot challenge race. So how about that?
Wow.
Riley Dickerson, Bradley Golan, and Michael McCarthy were the winners in Grand Sports, and then TCR was won by Chris Miller and Mikey Taylor. So congratulations to them. For GS, this is their top 10 results. Riley Dickinson, Brady Golan, Michael McCarthy were the winners. Daniel Morad, Bryce Ward second. Matt Plum, Olin Trinkler third. Dylan Macarin, Robert McGinnis fourth. Robert Foley, France Selderoff sixth. Jesse Lazar, Michael De Quesada, whatever his last name is, sixth. Trent Hillman, Austin Keynes, and Stephen McClure of United Kingdom seventh. Luca Mars, Bob Michael Leon got eighth. Andrew Davis, Frank Depew, and Robert Liddell got ninth. Jesse Webb and Mikkel Stevens were your top 10. Let's see, your other notables in this for this former NASCAR driver Kevin Conway got 12 with John Gessenbright, Corey Lewis. Chad McCumbee, former NASCAR driver, 15th. Jack Hawksworth got 17th. That's a shame for Jack Hawksworth. Let's see. Michael Cooper, 25th. Bubba Wallace, John Hunter Nemechek, Corey Heim, 27th. I don't know if you heard this, Taylor. Did you hear that Corey Heim was in that car 2 hours and he had more time than Bubba Wallace and John Hunter Nemechek combined? Yeah, like 2 hours and like 40 something minutes or like that. Damn, talk about and here's the insult. He's a truck series driver, and he was faster than the two Cup Series drivers. Can you say bro with me?
That definitely is a shocker.
I wonder if Corey Heim has been practicing his coda that he's going to do later this year. But let's go to TCR. This is the top 10 results for them. Chris Miller, Mikey Taylor were the winners, as I said. Preston Brown, Dennis Dupont of Belgium, and Nick Lugeman of Canada got second. Mason Felipe, Mark Wilkins got third. Tom Gordon, Douglas Oakley, Eric Rockwell fourth. Tato Otis, Daniel Woe got fifth. Jacob Dilly, Jordan Wisely were sixth. Carl Whitmer and Dasho Yoshihara seventh. Taylor Hagley, Bryson Morris got eighth. Ninth, Gavin Ernstone, John Morley, and 10th were the Gonzalez buddies of Tyler Gonzalez and Victor Gonzalez Jr., former NASCAR driver. Other notables we need to mention. Harry Gottsacker, Robert Witkins got 12th. Tim Lewis Jr. got 13th. LP Montour, Brian Ortez got 15th. And the Go brothers ended up finishing 17th. Your thoughts, Taylor, from the Pilot Challenge race?
Definitely some really interesting stuff happened there. And especially seeing some drivers with not too much IMSA experience doing really well. That was a little bit of a surprise, for sure, seeing that happen.
Oh, definitely. And let's talk about the winners. I'm just going to go over the winners, and then I want Taylor to get his thoughts on this. GTP was won by the number 7 Porsche Penske Motorsport of Dean Cameron, Matt Campbell, Felipe Nasr, and Joseph Newgarden. Which, by the way, Joseph Newgarden is the 12th IndyCar driver that has won the Indy 500, the IndyCar Championship, and now the Rolex 24. Can you believe that?
Oh, wow.
Yep. For LMP2 was Ryan Dizelle, Dwight Merriman, Christian Rasmussen, former F2 driver, and Connor Zillage for the LMP2. For GT Daytona Pro, James Calado, Alessandro Piaguardi, David Day Regon, who, by the way, ran a D Sports Racer event at Heartland Park, Topeka, and finished in the top 10 with a Italian car that he's tried to sell in the United States. And Daniel Serra of Brazil. Yeah, you've never heard of Davide Regon. I've heard of him because he ran the D Sports Racer car from the runoffs at Heartland Park, Topeka. And then GT Daytona was Windward Racing with Philip Ellis, Indy Dungy, Daniel Murad, and Russell Ward. What was your thoughts on the Rolex 24, Taylor?
Yeah, definitely. Really interesting race. And, unfortunately, some cars got taken out of it due to reasons and that they weren't able to finish the race and stuff. But overall, I mean, it was a really interesting race and definitely Rolex 24 definitely was a very interesting one.
And it's also a record crowd that they had for this year's event. So, yeah. Of course, we don't have any IMSA news since that was basically all the IMSA news we have. So let's rate this race weekend. Let's start off with the VP Sports Car Sports Car Challenge, the IMSA VP Racing Sports Car Challenge. Taylor, if you had to give this rating from A to F, with A being an outstanding race and F being a why are they even racing here? What grade would you give the two races for the VP Racing Sports Car Challenge?
I will say a B for them.
I'm going to go B+. All right, the Mazda MX-5 Cup, same rating scale, Taylor.
I'm going to give them an A.
I'm going to go A- because nothing to take anything disrespectful. I mean, the races were really close, but people need to learn how to use the damn brake pedal going into one of the horseshoe corners. I mean, taking out 2 or 3 cars and then taking out somebody in the La chicane. Yeah, I have a problem with that. All right, the Pilot Challenge race, same rating scale, Taylor.
Definitely. Let's see, I will go with a B on that one.
I'm going to go A-. I mean, I'm going to just say this. In John Hunter Nemechek's defense, I know on his first pit stop where they did the driver change, he actually stalled the car. But then again, he's never done a 4-hour endurance race at Daytona. So, he's not used to that. So he's just trying to get, he'll get better if he does end up running this series, or he might end up running the Rolex 24 next year. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. Speaking of the Rolex 24, what rating would you give it, Taylor, from A to F?
I think I will give it an A.
I'm going to go A+. I want to just say this, for the defending champions in the 14 Lexus, I thought their damage, I thought that took them out. They end up going to the garage, fixing that car, getting that car back out, trying to salvage some points. That really is good. You got to give them a lot of credit for them in this never give up attitude, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely, they did a really good job fixing that thing for sure.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they had mechanical problems through the overnight hours, and unfortunately had to retire, which is too bad. So, yeah, which is sucks, but not the way you want to start the season. But hey, 59 cars for this year's Rolex 24. That's pretty good, if you ask me. So, yeah. All right, let's see here. Oh God, I'll talk about something else off the air, Taylor. I don't want to talk about it on the air because I'll creep out the viewers. Let's see here. Going to let me look at the agenda here. So we already talked about the IMSA stuff. So let's preview the VP Racing Sports Car Challenge race that they're going to have at St. Pete. You can watch that race on the IMSA radio network. I don't know what day they're going to do that race. I think it's going to be like Friday or something like that. I don't know, but once I find out, I will post everything in the description. So we're going from Daytona, which is the World Center Racing, to a street circuit of St. Petersburg. And of course, we talked about, St. Petersburg being a street circuit. What do you think we're going to see at St. Pete, Taylor?
Well, definitely. I think we're going to see some really good racing. Especially if we see some of these drivers finishing within a second or so of each other, like they did at Daytona. This is going to be a really interesting race for sure at St. Pete, and definitely, I think it'll be a good race for sure.
All right. So something new we're going to do, Zachary Taylor and myself will give you 3 keys to the races that we're going to do. And our keys to the race, by the way, is brought to you by Coke Zero. Real Coca-Cola tastes 0 calories. Zachary Taylor, your 3 keys to the race. What is your first key?
Well, one thing I can think of here is something that we kind of discussed a little bit ago, and that is using your brakes when you need to, because we saw some drivers during the events at Daytona kind of plow into each other. And
in the famous quote, we like to say, "Arc brakes," but go on.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think drivers using their brakes when they need to, whether it's to avoid something or even avoid rear-ending somebody, is going to be key, because if you start wrecking each other, you're going to have a big old massive wreck at St. Pete. So it definitely won't be good if we see a big pile up, that's for sure.
And the thing about St. Pete, Daytona, you had plenty of runoff areas. So if you had problems, you're going to be fine about that. Excuse me, I had a little belch there, but besides the point. But you're going to a street circuit in St. Pete. If you make one mistake, that track's going to be unforgiving, and that's one of my keys. You got to be careful with St. Pete, because this is a street. It like a permanent. This is a street circuit. Unforgiving. There's walls on both sides.
Yeah.
Really a treacherous street circuit. I think Taylor and I will agree on the second one. Restarts are going to be really tricky, especially going to St. Petersburg, because we don't know some of these drivers that are rookies they've never raced at St. Pete. So that's going to be something we're going to have to keep our eyes on when we have that race weekend at St. Pete.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially like you were just mentioning, I mean, St. Pete is going to be way narrower than Daytona. And so, drivers aren't going to really have the room to try to go 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 wide, and that's for sure.
And the other thing is that some of the track is on the airport, some of the track is on the street. So, whereas Daytona, you're on pavement. You're talking about streets where it gets a lot bumpier and all that. And, we talked about when we go to Long Beach, we always come to St. Pete when we have IndyCar. So it's really a treacherous. Nashville, one of the other tracks that we always talk about, that's been a fixture. So, street circuits, you have all these bumpy roads and all that, really could upset the car as far as suspension is concerned.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It can.
Okay. So, definitely should be a good race at not Sebring, excuse me, at St. Pete. The next IMSA podcast will recap St. Petersburg and look ahead to Sebring. But yeah, it's going to be a very fun race, and I can't wait for that. So, Mr. Zachary Taylor, any final thoughts you want to say about this race weekend before we get out of here and enjoy some s'mores with our drivers fully clothed?
Let's see. Definitely think we'll have a really good race at St. Pete, and hopefully we don't see any drivers getting penalized for doing something silly out on the racetrack. And like we saw during the Rolex 24 weekend.
And also, let's hope the officials remember to give the 1 to go signal before they throw the checker flag.
Yeah, that too.
But, I'm really proud. Oh, yeah, that Lexus number 14 had a fire. That's what happened. So, but my final thoughts, for Penske, for them to accomplish, the 500, the championship they just won in NASCAR, which we'll talk more about that on Triple P later this week, later this week. For them to do that, win Bathurst and all that, this team is like the first team that can say, I just won the Triple Crown of racing. They've won the Indy 500, they've won the Daytona 500, they've won a championship, they've won the Bathurst 1000. Now they can add a Rolex 24 to the list of resumes that they have accomplished. And Roger Penske has got to be proud of this accomplishment.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about that.
We'll talk more about Mr. Penske Friday. I believe we're gonna record this on Wednesday, but it'll be up on Friday, which we will hopefully have We'll have Mr. Zachary Taylor. We'll have also Cody Smart and our special guest, the Carnage Man himself, Sean Art, which I know Sean will definitely like it when I call him the Carnage or the author of Time for Me to Wreck the Field. So, yeah. So, yes. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for the first episode in over 2 years, believe it or not, for the IMSA Podcast. So that's going to do it for the IMSA Podcast, the first episode of 2024. The next time we'll talk to you will be sometime in March when we recap St. Pete, preview Sebring, and go from there. So I want to thank you all so much for watching the first episode of the IMSA Podcast. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like. If you haven't considered subscribing yet, I highly recommend you do so in order to keep up with some wonderful content coming out in the near future, as well as future episodes of your favorite podcast coming out throughout the rest of this week and onward to the next. And also, make sure to give Zachary Taylor a bunch of cookies, because if not, then Taylor Jr. is going to be crying going to bed, all jokes aside. Is not an answer, but I just want to get that message in there. I want to thank Zachary Taylor for joining me for this week's edition of the IMSA Podcast. And on behalf of Mr. Zachary Taylor himself, I'm Dean Boyles, a.k.a. PCSRA Blue Hedgehog 26, signing off. Thanks for watching another edition of the IMSA Podcast, copyright 2024 by the International Motorsports Association. And you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of PCSRA TV as we celebrate 14 years as the best center racing around the world since 2017. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you in March. This has been the IMSA Podcast on the PCSRA Radio Network, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Cook & Loans. So long, everybody.